Hello, we're
Hello.
Lydie and Lydie Hampson. We live in Ibiza with 24/7 Ibiza. We've been here about 8.5 years, and we were asked to share a little bit about what we do in light of Justice Week that's happening. The three areas that we work in mainly are with the Roma gypsies, which is the reason that we moved here in the first place. In the prison, that's mainly Danny, and then also with the homeless.
The homeless community wasn't necessarily on our hearts or our agendas when we moved here, but it's something that's just grown over the last 6-7 years. It's grown in terms of our involvement, but also grown in terms of the actual number of people who are street homeless in Ibiza, not surprising with COVID. And up until now, we've been doing what we can from our home. It all starts with relationship, and thankfully, rather than have the kind of question of do I give a bit of money or do I give a sandwich, we've been able to give time and just sit and really get to know people, so they're not just statistics, but they're people, and they become friends. In terms of practical help, that's also beneficial because it means that you get to really know what people need.
Yeah, I don't think you can spend time with people and not then get involved and help. So a lot of what we do is washing clothes, giving out second-hand clothes that are clean, cooking. But what we found is that doing everything from our home, we're kind of limited in what we can do. The work has outgrown our capacity, so we've actually just a couple of weeks ago rented a property right in the centre of Ibiza town. A fantastic space. It used to be a gym, so it's already got showers plumbed in, beautiful big bright space that we can do a lot with. So we're planning a prayer space that also serves the homeless. And if you pray for us in any of this, that will be a big prayer point, that we get granted our licenses, because we've kind of shaken up the spiritual status quo and we're experiencing quite a lot of opposition. So if you do pray, please pray for that. There are a lot of the services that have been available to the homeless in Ibiza town have been reduced, so there is a need for this practical way of serving and supporting, as well as a space for our friends to come and have a safe space to maybe encounter Jesus for the first time,
or find some peace and some hope.
The next area would be probably prison. Danny goes in with Stephen, who is part of our community. He lives on the other side of the island with the long-term team that come in the summer. So they go in every Monday. And we've got to know people very personally, haven't we? To the point where we have one boy living with us at the moment who was out on bail till his sentence. So he had 9 months living with us and had his trial. And now he's back with us whilst he waits for sentencing, which none of us expected.
We don't know when, how long that will be. But the prison... Walking with people in prison is a blessing. It is a privilege to be able to go in, and I think our constant prayer is God's justice. God's justice is perfect, and His ways are perfect. And so, for each individual situation that we know of and person who's got a story and a reason that they're in there, it is a privilege to be able to walk that with them to varying degrees of depth, I suppose.
And with this boy, we'll call him Michael, he came to know Jesus in prison through Danny and Stephen, and now to have him living in our home has been such a privilege. And to read the Bible with him, we try and read the Bible and have dinner on a Thursday night with him and with Stephen and with us and our children, Asher and Nate, and that has been such a privilege. But again, if you pray, please pray for him, that his sentencing would come through quickly, and that the time that he gets given or not would be fair. And I think the thing with prison that makes it a bit unique is that there's a crossover from all areas of our life in there. So before Danny and Stephen started going in, there was a homeless guy that we lost tabs on. We're like, where's such and such? Haven't seen him for ages. And then Danny and Stephen started visiting prison and he was in there. And then some of our Roma friends have ended up in there, so we've been visiting them, and then obviously the guys that we've got to know on their own who are in prison. So it's an interesting melting pot of lots of areas of life. The Roma gypsies are the whole reason that we moved here. This is the group of people that God really moved our hearts for initially. And it's just been such a joy getting to know them and getting to understand a little bit more of their values, of their history, of the injustices that they experience every day, right down to this week a family with 3 children being evicted from their home, being given a very short term. I think they've got 2 weeks in a flat somewhere with no money, no nothing. The dad is disabled, the mom can't work, the children can't get to school because they've been put in a completely different area, and then with no hope of anything reasonable long term. So that's difficult, isn't it?
It's
to
quite
see
systematic,
that
isn't it?
All the time.
The prejudice.
Yeah.
And injustice.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of access to housing, access to employment. If you're a Roma gypsy, is so greatly reduced.
This one friend even said to me, if I could maybe find a job, maybe you could ring up and talk to them for me because you're not gypsy, so they'll listen to you. And I just thought that is so awful that's your experience, that you have to find somebody that isn't like you to get you a little bit of access to something that we should all have access to. The exciting thing that we're seeing happening with the Roma is, since we've lived here, God's raised up a local leader who's a Christian. So we go in 2 nights a week to their area that they live in, called Sapenia, and we have church together. One night actually, on the Saturday night, we go in and we have like an open air meeting and prayer and worship, and we're seeing people come to know Jesus and seeing lives changed, really, aren't we?
Definitely.
Which is amazing. And then another night, on the Sunday night, we meet in the side room of a local Catholic church with the same guys, and it's just so exciting to see people's hunger and thirst for Jesus. But in a justice sense, please do pray for them, because they are so on the edge of, well, they're not on the edge of their own community, but they're certainly on the edge of the majority community, and they are very, very much assumed to be the worst of the worst and the least of the least. And what we have found is that they're incredibly generous people, very welcoming. Well, they're welcoming now that we've been here 8.5 years. There was a lot of suspicion around us before, but I think now that we've got to know people, they're very welcoming. But as a result, are very welcoming to our friends if they come up to the service with us, which is beautiful.
Brilliant.
We've really gone over time.
We've gone over time, but
thank you for praying for us, and to the guys that reached out as well, and please do pray for the centre, because we feel like this could be a real big hub for lots of the different areas that we're in, and we've already had people, for instance, the Roma friends, saying they want to come and serve the homeless in that place, and that would just be so beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
Thank you for praying.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.